Hi folks, welcome back to Series 2. Today's sessions, we are going to look into Restore to Microsoft Azure. Well, for those of you who missed our Series 1, which talk about backup to Microsoft Azure, that particular video are already uploaded to YouTube, and you can refer to the descriptions on the below to get understand about how to move your backup data from on-premise to Microsoft Azure block storages. Well, we already moved the backup data to Microsoft Azure. Therefore, in this particular series, we are going to look into how to convert your on-premise backup into Microsoft Azure as a virtual machine. Before we look into the demo, let's have a quick look on the architecture. On your environment, you already set up Veeam, backup, and replications, and you already configured as backup repositories to store your backup data. So what we're going to do is we are going to use Microsoft Azure as locations to run your virtual machine temporarily in case of any disaster. By using Veeam, you're able to convert your backup data either running on VMware, Hyper-V, and even on your physical server. We will help you to do conversion and push the whole entire thing into as a virtual machine on Microsoft Azure. Without further ado, let's have a quick look on how to do this by using Veeam version 11A, and this is the latest version at this moment. All right. So to save time, in the previous series, we already do backup. Now, what we are going to do right now is we are going to do a restoration. So I do have a DC01, and this is the virtual machines which I would like to recover into Microsoft Azure. To do so, all you need to do is just right click. From here, you're able to see I'm able to move easily to any of the hyperscaler cloud. For example, to AWS, Azure, and the latest one is GCP. However, in today's sessions, we are going to move into Azure. Therefore, I'm going to select this. This is the virtual machines that you want to restore. Select your restore point, which you plan to use. All right. So from here, you're able to select your restore point. All right. Where is your latest restore point and even incremental as well. I'm going to select the latest one. Then click on next. When you click on next, the next thing will be we already configured to point subscription to Microsoft Azure. Right now, we select our subscriptions, then we select the region where we want to restore this particular VM. I'm currently located in Southeast Asia, so this is the nearest one. And then moving on, let's move into select next. From here, you're able to select the type of instance that you want to use, right? So from here, you're able to select, for example, I would like to have 2 core with 3.5 gig of RAM. Storage type, either managed or unmanaged, it's up to you. And then let's put it unmanaged. Storage locations, I'm going to put it to my bucket, right? Click OK. And then if you want, you can also select which of the disks that you want to restore to public cloud. If you do have multiple virtual disks, you can check it and uncheck as well. Next, from here, it's better that you give a proper name to represent your the VMs that you want to restore. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put right. Sorry for that. Let's put name to restore what resource group. Mm, let's point everything to my resource group. Right. Then I click next. So all these settings are available when you already pre-configures on Microsoft Azure subscriptions, right? So do bear in mind every time you deploy your virtual machines, it will be better that you put it into the same resource group, right? Then I'm going to select the network, which is the particular virtual machine are going to connect to. My virtual network will be this, and then subnet on this as well, right? You do have options. Do you want to assign a public IP or not, right? In case you want to assign it, if you do not have a jump server, you probably need to assign a public IP address, okay, for you to remote into the particular VM, right? If you do have a secure environment and you do provisioning a jump box server, therefore you can select do not assign, right? At this moment, we don't have a jump box server, so therefore I'm going to assign a public IP address. Network security group. This one will be your policy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select RDP, right? So I need to have a remote desktop access to this particular VM. Okay, let me remove this and I'm going to select this. Okay, RDP network security group. So by default, I already configured port RDP in order for me to remote access it. Then you have options to perform a scanning on antivirus. Veeam have integrations with four main antivirus. You can use Windows Defenders, ESET, Capacity, or even Symantec, right? So what this particular features will do is it will scan for viruses first. In case we detected there's a virus, then you have an action. You can perform an action such as a bot recovery, or you recover the whole entire VM but do not connect to network as well, right? At this moment, we are not going to scan anything. So let's click next. Um, I do have options. Do I want to power on or not? What I'm going to do is I'm not going to power on. That's because the restorations of the virtual machines from on-premise to Azure, it will probably take a very long period of time, right? In my home environments, I'm running a bandwidth of 100 meg for upload speed, right? Uh, it may take a while for it to restore a 40 gig virtual machines, and I do not want the virtual machines to be power on, which incur additional costs while I'm not aware about that, right? So I'm not going to power on, and then I'm going to click finish. Right now, what as a summary, what the particular system are doing right now is they are getting the backup data from the backup repo, which is on your on-premise, and then they will convert this particular virtual machine. Currently, it's on VMware. I'm going to convert it to a format whereby it's supported on Microsoft Azure, right? This particular process will probably take a bit longer, right? So what we are going to do right now is we are going to pause this video and we are going to resume once it's 100%. Okay, stay tuned. Well, we are back and we have successful restore to Microsoft Azure. The total size is around almost 40 GB, which took around an hour plus, right? Just want to let everyone know that this is very subjective, right? That's because bandwidth, they do have latency. So, and besides that, I do not use a proxy to deploy into Microsoft Azure. So that's why it takes a bit longer time. And if you go to the Microsoft Azure portal, let's search for live, and there you go. So we have successful restore a virtual machine to Microsoft Azure. Let's change to restore second time. This round, let's deploy a proxy, Azure VM proxy. Okay, and we are going to select. Yeah. So before we do that, just take note, if you would like to use the Azure proxy VMs on Microsoft Azure, you need to deploy a proxy on Microsoft Azure. And at this moment, I do not have any proxy, so I can't use this, right? If you're planning to use Azure proxy virtual machines, which located on the Azure data center, uh, you need to build a site-to-site VPN and add this particular proxy as the as a proxy VM, right? Then from there, you're able to use this. Let's change our another scenario. Remember in series 1, we restore to object storage. So therefore, we have what we call a backup data there. Let's do the same thing. Right now, we are going to take the backup from object storage. Let's restore to Azure. Select back the same setting. Go back to same storages. Resource group. Other name, we are going to put live restore to. Select back the same network. Point to here, subnet, and assign IP address. Network security group. I'm going to use with the RDP and click restore. I'm not going to power on. So the second scenario will be taking the backup data from the object storage and we restore directly to Microsoft Azure. Right. What we are going to do right now is we are going to pause the video. Then we will resume back once it's completed. Well, at this moment, it's doing a restoration. It's a bit slow, but from here you're able to justify why it's a bit slow. Is because I'm using on-prem BPR server as the Azure proxy. So therefore, the data from object storage are transferring back to on-prem, which is this is where the Azure proxy are located. And then from there, you start to push it to Microsoft Azure, right? So therefore, as what just now we already mentioned, if you really want the backups to restore faster, you need to deploy Azure proxy on the public cloud. Then it will be a bit more faster to do a restoration. Let's while waiting for these particular things to restore, uh, we are going to switch back to the slide. Let's make some modifications into it. From the slide itself, we need to modify a bit. And right now, it's using the Veeam backup server as a proxy. Azure proxy, which is located on-prem. So it will be a VPR server on-prem. If you want it to be faster, then you will deploy one proxy here. In order for you to do that, make sure that you have what we call side-to-side VPN connections. Right? This is, let me change the line. This would be side-to-side VPN. And this one will be scenario 1, which is we restore from on-prem. Scenario 2 will be taking from the object storage. Let's go from here. This will be object storage. Right. So we have updated the slide, and this will be the updated version. Let me recap the whole entire scenario again in order for us to restore the backup data from on-prem to the public cloud. The first approach is the first scenario will be using the on-prem's backup data, and then we restore to Microsoft Azure. When we do that, if you want to be a faster deployment, this is where you need to establish a site-to-site VPN, and assign one of the virtual machine as Azure proxy on Azure, that will do a faster recovery. If you do not do that, then it will use Veeam backup server on-prem as the act as the Azure proxy. Okay, this will take a bit longer period of time. Same go for a scenario 2, whereby we take the backup data from Azure block storage to restore back to Microsoft Azure. The faster way for you to do that will be using Azure proxy, which is located on Microsoft Azure. If you do not do that, then it will use a longer route, whereby the data will go back to on-prem, and then from on-prem, it will push back to Microsoft Azure. This will take a longer period of time, right? So this is the updated slide. Let's change back to our demo, right? Still restoring. Right now, it's already past 30 minutes, 12 gig. The throughput is a bit lower. This is expected because I'm using an on-prem Azure proxy. Well, we're going to pause this and we'll resume when it's complete. I'm back. The process took around more than an hour. So I'm not mistaken, it should be 1 hour, almost 1 hour and 30 minutes, right? And then let's go to refresh. Hi, there you go. So it installed. Restore. All right. Let's wrap up the whole entire thing. My last slide will be this. Based on our lab testing, it's always recommended to deploy a Azure proxy, which located in Microsoft Azure data center for fast restoration. Right? You do not want the traffic's flow back to on-prem, or even use the on-prem proxy to restore back to Microsoft data center. Right? That's all for today. Thank you very much and see you next time.